So they find it abandoned in the middle of London with no clue as to what happened to the crew. Boy on the Bridge is the story of that voyage, the voyage of the Rosalind Franklin, and how it came to be there and what happened to everyone on board. But I've cheated a fair bit, so although it's broadly speaking it's that story, there are some glimpses at the end of what the world might become, what the world does become after Melanie, AM.
So that was the next thing I was going to ask you, the AM moment. You know, your two books, people always hear trilogy in the back of their head. Are we going to plans going? The book's coming out tomorrow or something, so you must have an idea of Melanie 2.
There are no plans at the moment for a third book, but there's definitely a third story to be told, which is the story of the outbreak, the story of how Cordyceps gets out into the general population. And we always knew what that story was. You know, it was sort of, it's implicit in the novel and in the movie, but it's just possible I might go back for a third.
So you're just going backwards, right? Yeah. Okay, lovely. Start with bleak ending, and then we keep going back, and we know obviously. Oh, I wonder if it will turn out okay. Like no. Let's talk about cordyceps. It's a real thing. It's a horrible thing. Don't Google it. But you don't have to Google it. Mike's just going to tell us all about this horrible thing that's actually real and can kill us.
It's actually, you can YouTube it rather than Googling it. If you just go on YouTube and type in cordyceps, the first thing you'll get is the sequence from Planet Earth, from the David Attenborough documentary, which shows an infected ant. It shows what cordyceps does to it. It's more terrifying than pretty much anything you'll ever see in a science fiction or horror movie. So cordyceps is a fungus that the spores are very sticky. So as a little ant crawls over the forest floor, it picks up the spores on its underbelly, and then the mycelia, the fungal threads, grow up through the ant's integument into its body cavity. And once they're there, they release mycoproteins, long-chain molecules, which are perfect forgeries of the ant's own neurotransmitters. Basically, it takes the ant and drives it away. It hijacks the ant's nervous system. The ant becomes a vehicle for the fungus. The fungus tells the ant, climb, find something big and climb up it. This is in a rainforest, so the big things are trees. So it climbs up to the top of a tree, anchors itself to the midrib of a leaf on the tree, and then basically just waits while the fungus eats everything inside its body and then explodes out of it. The Attenborough footage is the sort of the sporangium, the fruiting body of the fungus growing up like a little miniature tree out of the ant's head. And then it explodes, and the spores, because it's a couple of 100 feet in the air, the spores spread for miles, so the ant becomes a vector for the fungus. My story obviously posits a mutated cordyceps that could actually attack mammals, which feels like a bit of a stretch. But if you look at parasites, closely for very long, you'll never sleep another night without waking up in the sweat. There are lots of these neurohijackers. There are thousands of organisms in nature that can do this trick, and there's at least one that can do it to you.
So sweet dreams. Thanks for coming.
It's called Toxoplasma gondii.
You're not a happy guy.
Can I just talk about Toxoplasma?
Does he have it? I've got that, yeah.
Anyone who has a cat might have it.
Yeah, anyone who's a cat owner has a chance of having it. They reckon it's any one time a third of the population has it in their system, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're carrying the infection. If you are carrying the infection, so basically it infests cats, but it gets into cats by infesting mice. So it needs a way to get from the mouse into the cat, and the way it does that is by basically making the mouse blind to risk, making the mouse make really stupid decisions. Like it runs across the centre of a floor instead of going around the edges. It's attracted by the smell of a cat. So basically it goes out of its way to get itself eaten, and then the bacterium gets into the cat. There's some evidence, it's controversial, but there is some evidence that human beings who have toxoplasmosis make bad decisions about, for example, the speed and distance of a moving car. So you're more likely to get run over if you have it in your system, because it's doing to you what it does to the mouse.
On a metaphorical level, I'm just hearing kind of do really stupid decisions, climb to the top of the metaphorical tree, become president of the USA. Science fiction can never happen. But obviously, there's a lot of science behind it. But at the end of the day, that you've moved into Z territory. You said zombie, not hungry earlier. Even you said it. So, was there anything going through your mind about I'm about to embark on my next work is going to be a zombie novel, basically? Was it the science that made you think that you could bring a freshness to it? Was it the character of Melanie, or did you? Will this genre never die?
I don't think the genre ever will die now. I mean, Melanie came first, the character came first, but I love zombie fiction, and I think it was the right time to write a zombie novel, because genres grow in stages, that they go through, they have a life cycle. The first stage for the genre is the classic text that lay down the rules. So for the modern era, Romero writes the classic text, right? I mean, we all get to know how zombieism spreads, what it does to people, what the world looks like at the moment when the outbreak happens, and so on. And all of those classic stories are stories of the collapse of civilization, the moment when the dead rise. And then once everyone's got that clear in their heads, then you can start messing with the tropes. And you can start sort of taking it for granted. You know what the zombie apocalypse looks like. It's happening in the background, but this is the story that you're hearing now. And I was doing that at the same time as lots and lots of other people were doing it. Some years behind Shaun of the Dead, some years behind Zombieland. But it was definitely second stage zombie.
Well, yeah, because those were great movies, but parody movies. They're working through those tropes and finding them funny. But again, it must have been a double challenge. We've already had the airplane of zombie films, and you're coming in with something that's very serious at the end of the day. It's got a lot to talk about humanity's place on Earth, its fragility, and in fact its eventual replacement by something better.
I mean, I think the great thing about monsters is that, in order to survive long enough to become a trope, in order to be revisited again and again, a monster has to tell us something about ourselves. The reason why we're attracted to monsters is because they're kind of flawed mirrors for us. And they can therefore be used as metaphors for loads of stuff about different things about the human condition. You can reinvent them and use them to say whatever it is that's in your head to say, whatever it is that you're itching to get out there. I think with zombies, part of the point. Romero sort of invents the zombie horde, doesn't he? And then the crucial difference between zombies and, say, vampires is that you don't meet a zombie living a sort of classy lifestyle in a castle. Zombies sort of roam around in vast herds like animals, and they remind us of animals. They're kind of humanity stripped of any dignity, stripped of any purpose, stripped of sentience. And at the same time, they're corpses, they're animated corpses, so they kind of remind us of our ignoble origins and our ignoble ends. They've got us surrounded.
And without wanting to dig in too much, or put you on the spot, if there was one is there a message in the book, something that you want us to kind of understand? Is it that very sort of fact of human nature that you were just talking about, or?
No, I think it's about, is there a message? The book is about, I think it's about the limits to it, the limits that we impose on our own humanity. It's about othering. It's about refusing to see the humanity in other people. All of the adults around Melanie are faced with that same challenge, which is, can you see a human being here or can you not? And really they determine their fates by whether or not they're able to pass that challenge. Justin has an instinctive sympathy with Melanie. Parks gets there slowly and painfully by seeing what she can do, by sort of coming to trust her and to use her skills. Gallagher befriends her in the hospital. Caldwell never gets there until the very ending, and it's Melanie who sort of forces her to make the accommodation. Are we alive? Are we just mimicking human behaviours, or are we alive? And when Caldwell admits, yes, okay, you actually do have some kind of agency, some kind of sentience, it kind of destroys her to admit that, because the corollary is, if you're not the monster, I'm the monster. If you're a child, I've spent the last 10 years of my life dissecting children. So I guess it's about that. And as a kind of an extension of that, it's about the way in which the social roles that we enact